Hi there, I'm Becky Hammond, founder and strengths maven over at Isogo and isogostrong.com. Welcome to Isogo TV, the video and audio podcast where we are fueling marriage connection, parenting grace, and work energy by focusing in on your strengths instead of fixating on your weaknesses. Today, you are joining us for episode 69, which is the second episode in our Isogo TV interview series, and it has been so much fun. By talking to leaders, coaches, parents, spouses, regular people, we are bringing alive the life-changing stories that have been fueled by people's unique and brilliant strengths in their work or in their marriages or in their parenting. Today's guest is Murray Guest. Murray hails from Australia and is one of the country's leading strengths coaches. So far, and he's still going, he's helped over 1,200 people unlock and apply their strengths to achieve their professional and their personal goals. He pulls from his 20-year experience in corporate roles and partners with leaders to build strengths-based cultures and realize the benefits that a strengths-based approach can bring. Murray is passionate about people getting to do what they do best every day, and a piece that's unique about him, he wants people to have conversations that really matter. He does this brilliantly in the corporate world, and as you'll hear in today's episode, he's also experienced game-changing impact in his marriage to his lovely wife, Tammy, through their strengths. And it's the type of change that's transferable to you and to me, and the everyday type of frustrations that we all have in our marriages too. So let's dive into this conversation with Murray. All right, here we are today together with Murray. This is Murray Guest. We became acquainted, I think it's been over 2 years now, when he did an amazing thing and flew all the way from Australia to Omaha, Nebraska, where we met at a Gallup Strengths Coaching Summit. And today he is graciously willing to show up here in front of the camera to talk to us and to tell us a little bit about his story. So thanks, Murray, for being here.
Wonderful, Becky. It's great to chat to you again. I love talking to you and what you do with Isogo, and I'm glad to be on part of the Isogo TV series this year. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm excited. So let's just kind of help everybody get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your family, a little bit about your work.
Yeah, thank you. So I live in Australia. I actually live in a town called Newcastle, which is about 2 hours north of Sydney. I have 3 children, 20-year-old, 15 and 9.
Impossible.
Sorry?
Impossible to, be old enough to have a 20-year-old. No
trust me, I'm plenty old. The video lies. So 3 children I love dearly, and a wife I also love very dearly. We've been married for 10 years this year, and day to day I talk to people about strengths. So I live strengths like I know you do. We have strengths information on our fridge. It's just interwoven into our lives. How it's in part of my life as a person, in my career is I left my full-time job at the start of 2015, and I actually left on the Friday and started my strengths, accelerated strengths coaching course through Gallup on the Monday, straight after. Did that big leap to do that coaching course, but one of the best moves I've made, other than marrying my wife, of course. And since then have been working with people in teams and leaders one-on-one to understand their strengths and apply their strengths. I love talking to people about their strengths, and I think on last count I was around 1,200 people I've now worked with in that period of time. So it's about 3.5 years.
Wonderful.
When I'm not doing that, I'm hopefully riding my mountain bike in the bush. For a 46-year-old, I get around okay, Becky. I'm not as fit as I'd like, but I get around pretty good in the bush, and I love riding my bike. And it's a bit like strengths in a way that when I ride my bike in the bush, I feel like I'm 12 years old at school holidays, and I'm with my mates, and we're just riding our bikes around. So I get that joy when I ride. And there's a joy that people tap into when they unlock their strengths, isn't there? And I love that.
Yeah. And when you find it, you just realize, like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is who I'm meant to be. And it's life-changing when you get past just those 5 words on the page and you really explore and expand and apply it to your life. So very cool. Well, thanks for giving us all a little insight into who you are. And what are the questions that just kind of has been bouncing around in my mind recently is the things that I'm most proud of, or the people around me that are most proud of. So what's something recently that you are most proud of in your family or in your work or whatever comes to mind?
Yeah, thing that's really popping up at the moment for me is my relationship with my children. And I was running a workshop yesterday with a lady, and I finished my workshops with what's one thing that really stuck today through this workshop that we've just had. And I get everyone a chance to share that. And she said, Murray, what really stuck with me was 5 minutes that we had a conversation about how we look at what our children do through a strengths lens. And she said, I think the word she used was, she said, I've been hammering my daughter, Jasmine, about how she needs to improve in math and having arguments with her husband. And she said, and there was a couple of tears in her eyes, and she's just talking about how she's now got a new perspective on how to talk to her daughter. Wow. And that was just, you don't go to a workshop in an organisation to think about your children, which is beautiful that she got that. And I remember saying something to her along the lines of, if this helps you in your parenting, I know it's also going to flow into effect to how it helps you at work as well, because strengths is part of who we are. And she said, yeah, I can see that, I can feel that already. So that was, I could relate to that when she explained that to me yesterday, because I feel like that's where I've been for the last 6 years, where I've been on this strengths journey. While I started my business in strengths 3 years ago, I did my strengths finder back in 2012. And for me, when I did that, it was, the light bulbs are going off, like we've seen people have. Yep. Not just the, I got my top 5, but reading about the other 29 also made me go, oh, okay, I can see how they show up in my children. At that time, my daughter was a teenager, and teenagers, you can have the ups and downs. You'll look forward to that, Becky, I'm sure.
Yeah, I look forward. That's not the term I would use, but yes, I will get there and I will be in it.
Well, what I'd say is you have more tools in your toolkit now than I think a lot of parents have. Yeah. Which is those different perspectives that we get through Strengths Finder to look at someone's strengths. So to answer your question, what I'm proud of is how my relationship over the years has developed with my children, looking at them through that strengths approach. And I'm far from perfect as a coach, as a person, as a parent, as a husband, all of that. But what I know is when I'm at my best, Strengths Finders help me in how that relationship is looking at what's right with them, what they're doing well, how I can support that to develop further, whether that's their sport or their school or their art or their creativity. Yeah. I think it's given me more patience. And I think when I'm stressed and low in energy, and that patience starts to be stretched a little bit, if I go back to, well, where are they coming from, and admiring and appreciating their perspective, it's totally different. Yeah. So Strengths Finders really helped me with that relationship, that's for sure. Yeah. Yes, I love that. So let's dive into the strengths perspective. And I know that, you've just shared that you've been kind of intimately involved in unraveling what your strengths look like in your own life and what it did for you in your work and the transition that you made. First of all, why don't you share with us what your top 5 strengths are so that those of us who are familiar can understand the lens through which you see the world? So relator, futuristic, individualization, communication, responsibility. And strategic, number 6, and positivity And then woo is number 9. And I bumped that up a little bit because I know that it does show up. But then it's one of those things, I don't know if you've heard this before, Becky, it'll bubble to the surface and then relate or then come in again and say, yes, we've met. Hey, hi, how are you going? But then I really want to know you. And then the relator number 1 is the one that really underpins it. I use the analogy with people sometimes of if you had to get one of your strengths tattooed on your neck to really, it's the big neck tattoo these days. Not my thing, I must say. But if you did, if the government ordained or now implemented a policy that you must have the strength that you most claim tattooed on your neck, everyone has to do it. I think I'd have relator around my neck.
I feel like that's very common with relators. It feels kind of like a core theme. Like it drives everything, right? I mean, you can have all these other things, but really, your strategies about relationships or your, like all the different pieces kind of all point back to that. I know that intimately because my husband has the relator number 1 as well. So that's my anecdote.
I know that. And I know he has the correct strength and it's good to hear.
And he will heartily agree with you.
and if you had to pick one of your top 5 to be inked permanently, which one would it be?
So if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said achiever without a doubt. But you asked me today and I say connectedness without a doubt. There's just no way that I could, my achiever would overrule my life if it was tattooed on but connectedness can provide balance and perspective and vision, mission. So I've come to know it's more than just about recycling. It's really a lot more than that.
Yeah. You and David have a couple in your top 5 the same?
Yeah. Arranger and belief we share.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And Tammy and I have the same. So Tammy, you've prompted me to talk about Tammy, my wife, because she has connectedness number 1. And then we have relator in individualization as well in our top 5.
Oh, that will make for some really good, deep conversations, right?
Yeah, and it's a great example, and we talk about the value and the brilliance and knowing our strengths and the strengths of our partner happens in our relationship. And when Tammy and I first got together, pre-understanding strengths, and she would say something to me along the lines of activator and connectedness both in her top 5. We're going on a holiday, let's go. Whoa, that's just my responsibilities coming up here, come on.
I have plans.
Yes, we need to organize the children and talk to my ex-wife who my child's children are with, and how do we pay for this said holiday? So all of that would come up, but again, and there would be some stress and even some, I wouldn't say arguments, but there would be some tough conversations about that, and I would be making her wrong in my head because she would want to take action, and it's all going to work out because the connectedness would tell her it's all going to happen, but I didn't have the language or the understanding that's what was going on. She was wrong.
Yeah. And she's confusing and frustrating and yeah. So when you came across then the strengths concept, Murray, I know just to tell everybody here that you are, you use StrengthsFinder in all your life and your work. It is your life's work at this point. But as you and I talked prior to this, part of the impact has been in your family, and relator also being so high, it's like it's so important to you. I know that, like I said, from experience. And so you said were willing to kind of go that path as we talk about what changed in your life after you discovered the StrengthsFinder concept. And so when you first came across the strengths concept, and if we're talking from a family perspective, what problems were you encountering? You just kind of shared one, kind of that like mismatch on understanding each other. What were you thinking about most in your life from a marriage and parenting perspective?
Yeah, so I think StrengthsFinder gives me confidence. It gives me that self-confidence to know myself at a deeper level, and not just my top 5, but the whole strengths framework.
Yeah,
I would say. And I've done a number of different personality profiling tools, and even thinking preferences tools, as you do in the corporate world over the years. And some of them stuck with me and helped, and for a period of time.
Right.
But a lot of them, it was like, oh, be this, and also be this, and also try and improve this, and add a bit of this, and then mix it all together, put it in the oven, and bam, you're this new person.
You'll get it, yeah.
Whereas, to go back to what you're saying, I think at a core, what it's helped me do is to build my confidence so that I'm not trying to change someone else to be like me, like my partner, like Tammy, and I'm also not trying to point out what's wrong with her, because I'm actually more comfortable in who I am. So to even get to the point of us being better in our relationship, I think what it has helped me is be more comfortable in who I am to start with.
Yeah.
And so knowing my strengths, and I connected with my top 5 very quickly. And I haven't shared this with many other people, Becky. I've thought about redoing my top 5. Or redoing the strengths.
Taking it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Thought about doing it again. But then I embrace not just my top 5, and because I talk about strengths all the time, I can see how other strengths bubble to the surface, in my intermediate group as well, and in my dominant band. So I haven't thought about doing it again, because when I first, that's because I see it, I've thought about it, but in all honesty, I love my top 5, and I love them for when I did it, because it's helped me with that confidence.
Right.
And then Tammy doing hers, it's then helped me say, okay, she does have a different perspective. She does approach this situation differently. How we parent the children, how we might coach we both are coaches, and the way that we would coach our children, I'd like to say coaching rather than discipline. Of course, we have to do that sometimes, but so understanding the way that she does it is different to me, and that difference is more than okay. It's her.
Yeah. Can you think of any, so how long have you been married? Had you been married when you discovered the strengths perspective?
Great. It would have been, I should know that top of my head, Becky.
Well, you probably, because you said you've been married 10 years. I could do some math. And then you've been...
I was about 3 years.
Okay. Can you think of any examples from kind of that first 3-year period where there were just kind of challenges that you couldn't figure out?
I'm happy to go even a bit deep about this, and that is, so we previously had a week on, week off situation with my 2 oldest children. So they go to their mum and come back to us. And quite often in those situations, parents and children and us, we would forget things that the kids needed at their mum's house. School shoes or some homework, or I don't know, something important to them that was very important at that point in their life.
Right.
Not a blankie, but you know what I mean. Something.
Yes, I was going to say, they were 10 years old at the time. So there's a lot of things that...
Where's my Pokemon cards?
Yeah.
But what would happen is I would jump in my car with their things and race over there and drop it off. And I can't tell you how many times I did that. It would be, more fingers than I have on my hands, that's for sure. And Tammy would say, what are you doing this for? You are, how would she frame it up? She would say something like, you are just going over there to help them. It's not helping them in the long run. She could see that.
Like enabling their dependence or something like that. Right?
Yeah, well, that's beautifully, something great. It sounded just like it. Something like that.
You want your second lecture?
But you and her were spot on, but I couldn't see that at all. What I could see was, I'm being a good dad. I'm being a good parent. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this.
Yeah, coming through for them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I'm coming through for them. And it would cause some stress for us.
Yeah.
And I now know it was a different strengths lens, and even the basement, a blind spot of my responsibility.
Right.
I didn't have the language then to say, oh, it's my responsibility, I'm overplaying. And it was Tammy's connectedness. She could see how it's all connecting and coming together.
And that the future implications, connectedness can kind of see like one moment in time, right? And then be able to see like how this could potentially impact their adulthood. I mean, I don't know what she was thinking about exactly, but
she was, and not just that, the relationship we were having with my ex-wife and how that was productive, but also that dependency that was being developed. So in future occurrences, will you drop them off because you drop off the things that the kids don't have?
Yeah.
Or you now come and pick up the children instead of the arrangement we had because you're the person that does that.
Yeah.
And it would just evolved and then escalated to more and more things. And it's a great question you asked, because before StrengthsFinder, that would be one of the key things that would cause us some stress and tension in our marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you think we want to be aligned about that, but we just won't.
Yeah. So what else did you try? Like before you discovered the strengths perspective, what else did you try to do to try to get on the same page or to not frustrate each other when you had these kind of weekly or every other weekly type engagements?
Yeah. We would talk through it. We would sit down and we would try and talk through it. And using different tools that we've have at our disposal from different personal development that we've been through. However, on reflection, I'm thinking about, we never quite actually got there. And I would see it. I would hear what she was saying. I would hear that, but I don't think I shifted in my mindset or in my heart about what I was doing.
Right. Because in your mind, your talents were still telling you, just because you didn't know the language behind them, they were there. Your talent was telling you, I have to do this. This is part of my obligation. I take ownership for my kids and for, whatever that internal dialogue was of responsibility, strength. It was speaking loudly to you, even if you didn't know its name.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. I was speaking so loudly because, and that's the thing I'm just thinking about on reflection. Yes, I hear you. Yes. I gather what you're saying. Yes. Okay. And then this part of me was still going, no, you still need to make sure the kids are okay. Still need to
Now you just have to do it in secret.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, it's a good reflection, because I think as much as we talked about it, and we did have some tension and we did work through it a lot, but we didn't have the language there to really label it, to really go deep and to really go, it's that talent showing up.
Yeah. So what happened? Yeah. What happened? So you discovered your strengths, and I believe you did that through a work environment.
Yes. Right? Yeah, true.
Right.
Yeah.
And so actually there's a pretty powerful, your story is over on my blog from last January. And so I'll put a link up to that in the show notes here.
Thank you. Yeah.
See that. And so, it took a pretty strong hold in your work and made you change trajectories. Talked a lot about what it did to your confidence and what that meant for what you were able to do and willing to risk and all that. As you were exploring all that in your work, how did it start showing up at home?
So I say to people, to leaders I work with, how we show up at work starts at home, and how we show up at home as parents starts at work, because the work-life balance is just a misnomer. It doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
So in that situation for me, again, that confidence, that feeling of I'm doing something with more purpose now. I'm doing something that more connects with what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Impacted then how I felt when I was going home each day, and still does now. To move from it is a job, which I did enjoy, but not to the same depth.
Right.
So I think I was more stressed. I think I was more less patient, for sure. Not more, less patient. And knowing then that shift in what I'm focusing on, and knowing about approaching what I'm doing through my strengths and my talents, and the blind spots and brilliance that each one of them has, then has that flow-on effect to the relationships with my wife and my children.
Yeah.
So I'm not so focused on what's next, but being present, as you and I have talked about, is that so important.
Yeah.
So it's hard to articulate, and I think I'm going to start to pay you because you asked such a great question.
Well, I can give you my Venmo account if you'd like.
Love it. But no, because these are the questions that matter, Becky. These are great questions, and I love exploring this because I think the difficulty, and you might agree, that sometimes to explain the power of knowing your strengths, and your natural talents, and not just the immediate impact, but the ripple effect it can have in your life. It's hard to articulate.
It is. Well, especially because it's a slow process. It's not like one day you don't know your strengths and you're totally frustrated with your spouse because of XYZ situation. And the next day you discover your strengths and you realize, oh, it's changing everything. And, going forward, we're never going to be frustrated again. It's not, as we all know, it's not like that. But the daily incremental steps that we take as we do discover our strengths and the strengths of our spouse, and how that can really change the dialogue. So, for you guys, I know at some point then you had Tammy discover her strengths as well through the Strengths Finder. How did that conversation change for you? So you would have, maybe it was the same type of conflict, overactive responsibility conflict, or it was a different one. But, now when you sit down to have a conversation, something is different now. You have a different language. What did that look like when you began to unravel the strengths perspective in your marriage communication as well?
Yeah, well, I think it's very much the language of wanting to understand and being open to understanding, as opposed to making someone wrong, and wanting them to see your perspective, that I actually want to understand your perspective. Yeah, I don't want you to see it through how I'm seeing it. I now want to see it how you're seeing it, and I want to understand that more.
Yeah.
So that changed. I even think the lens that I was approaching the conversations was clearer, was more open, was more had a broader perspective to see what she was thinking, how she was feeling, and being open to that. So that certainly happened as well.
Yeah.
I also think that we could then talk about some of the perspectives and some of what was going on and how we're feeling with what talent or strength might be showing up.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's not just top 5 strengths that you're talking about. You're talking about a whole paradigm, because even just that seeking to understand instead of be understood, like what did that process look like for you? I mean, it probably wasn't overnight that you decided that all of a sudden you wanted to understand people instead of being understood.
Yeah, and I think a key part is the amount of time that we now gave to that we were giving to those conversations.
Right.
As opposed to, so you want to do it that way, I want to do it this way, and that's the way it needs to be.
I'm now having agree to disagree. See you later.
I'm going for a ride on my mountain bike. I'll talk to you. I'll get back. I'm going to walk the dog. No. So the energy shifted, and so therefore I think that's a key thing. The time that we were willing to give opened up because we're seeing a different perspective and we're open up to that. So it was like, okay, let's sit down and really talk about this.
Yeah.
And let's do that.
You have a specific example that you can think of now, kind of post Strengths Finder, that you had some sort of a disagreement, conflict, frustration with each other, that you were able to infuse the strengths perspective and strengths language into, that really dissolved it?
Yeah, so the strengths framework, as we talked about, helps me to look back on pre-Strengths Finder with that overdialing responsibility. One of the key things I think that is a challenge in relationships is money.
Absolutely.
And it's never come up for us. So let's not talk about it.
So that I was just saying that most people, other people.
Other couldn't be us, of course. Yeah, so just like most relationships and marriages, money is a challenge for us at times as well, and can be. And again, our money mindset can come from so many different areas, from messages from our parents and a whole range of things. But certainly our approach to saving money, to spending money, to how we might pay for different things. Yeah. And we both run our own business. So Tammy is very successful at what she does. I'm so very proud of the impact she's making in her community. And over the past 5 years, while her business has been growing, and in the past 3.5 years, while my business has been, there's times where cash flow in business is important, and then that impacts the money in the family. Yeah. And I think now that what we can do when those money challenging conversations come up, I can see that her connectedness is such a great example of how an activator. I want to invest in this development bank. I'm going to spend the money. Whoa, let's just check that. I can see she can see where it's going to take her. And the activator is, I want to take action on it right now. Yeah. And we can then talk about it, or even we don't need to talk about it sometimes, because I now see why she's doing it and I can understand her better.
It doesn't feel as brash or rash as it once would have, because you understand her lens and her perspective.
Yeah, you are spot on, and I understand it. And it's not like I hear it and I see it and then I go, well, that's just her. Yeah. I actually understand it, and I also love it.
Just appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I love it. I appreciate it. I love what she brings. It helps me. Again, that helps me improve who I am and how we're taking action. And I know that she calls me her touchstone. So
what does that mean?
Stone that I bring, which obviously is some of my talents coming through.
Yeah. And did she always say that?
Yeah, but now I think it's touchstone with like a river stone with responsibility written on it, maybe.
With the tattoo on the neck and then the river stone.
That's a terrible thing.
You'll have all sorts of strengths all over. Just making that touchstone thing come alive because of what you really bring. She sees the reasons why. She's like, I always knew that you were foundational, but this is why. These are.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes you find that you come in to check some of her activator positions or in intuitions?
Now that's a great question, Becky. I think it's interesting. It depends where I'm at. I'll do different things. So I think if I'm a bit stressed, if I'm not going as well as I would like in a week, let's just say, I might be a little more cynical or critical about that activator showing up. Yeah. If I'm comfortable in how I'm going, I don't.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, and
it's that emotional element of how we're doing and what space we have to respond.
Yeah, the team yesterday I was talking to, the simple question was, where do you think you go when you're stressed? And we had this great conversation about what part of your spectrum of your top 5
I love that.
Shows up when you're stressed. And you've tapped into that beautifully, because I know that when that's for me, I will, and I'm even happy to say this, use some of those parts of my top 5 that I'm less proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's over dialing. Like, is it just kind of the volume control kind of gets out of whack, or it's a trigger maybe that just says like, okay, this is what I do when I'm trying to be safe, or when I feel threatened, or when I'm exhausted, or it's kind of like your natural instincts.
Yeah, and I think responsibility is number 5 is the big one. That's that foundation one that then comes in. It's like, I've got to make sure everything's going to be okay. I'm going to make sure that financially we're spot on. Let me check the numbers. Let me get the spreadsheet going and do that. When I don't need to do that. Yeah. But when I'm at my best and I'm comfortable and everything's going well, I bring that, but I bring that in a more collaborative approach.
Yeah.
So Tammy's just completed her round for her next 6-month coaching program that she has, and she's got over 60 people in it. She's, it's going fantastic. And what's been really good is the way that we've worked together to how she's brought her elements and I've brought what I have to support her, and she's just going amazing.
Wow. It sounds like it's been, it sounds like to me, it's like a daily impact to the way that you two live together compared to 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. I do know the paint tin analogy.
Painting?
The paint tin.
No.
So do you know when you go to the hardware store to get some paint to paint your house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you get like I'm going to say 4 litre, but you might say...
No, 1 gallon.
1 gallon. Let's say 1 gallon. A 1 gallon litre of white paint.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you get the tint in the small tin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the man or the lady and they're going to mix that up for you. So they tip the tint in and then they stick it in the hammer it all down. And then they put that in the shaker, stirrer, whatever you want to call it, that shaker thing. And then that shakes for a while. I always think of the Simpsons episode where Bart Simpson put Homer's beer in the shaker and put it in the fridge, and it blew the roof off the Simpsons house. I don't know if anyone else knows about that episode, but it was so fun.
That's another thing you and my husband have in common, so I'm sure he knows that episode.
I love David. Okay. But then you end up with this 1 gallon tin of paint that has a slightly different tint of colour when you paint your walls when you get home.
Yeah.
Now, imagine that 1 gallon tin is your life. And in that is work, friends, family, all your relationships. And the tint is StrengthsFinder. We don't just talk about strengths sometimes. We don't just have it on the side and we put a splash of it on the wall and a splash of it in our life. We put it in. And I know that you have. It's mixed in through everything you do.
Everything. Yeah. I love that analogy.
And that's what I think, if we treat it like, I'm now going to be talking about StrengthsFinder, or I'm at work, so now I'm in strengths mode. It won't stick. It's about being part of who you are and embracing your natural talents, because they show up in every part of your life. And what I'm proud to say is it's mixed into our 1 gallon tin of our life.
I love that. So as we close here, which of course I don't want to do, but we have to at some point, right? When drawing from your own personal experience, from your family in particular, what encouragement or advice would you give to someone else who can kind of resonate with those frustrating moments where you just don't understand each other? You have to kind of agree to disagree. What encouragement or advice would you give to people in their marriages in particular?
To not forget that we're human. And as humans, we have our fight or flight mechanism that will kick in. And that mechanism will kick in. And the flight will look like, I want to avoid this conversation. I want to not even talk about this. I want to leave the house. I want to go to bed angry. I want to not talk about these things. And the fight might be, I want to prove I'm right. I want to argue about this. I want to go in hard. Neither one of those approaches will help us in our relationship. It's about managing those emotions and not forgetting what you said earlier about why we were together in the first place, those vows that we said to each other and what brought us together, that we do love each other, and that giving the time to our relationship that it deserves and respecting that, knowing that we might get that social discomfort that's going to come up, and they could feel like pterodactyls flying around in our stomach, not just butterflies, but some big flapping birds. But know they're there, but say, we got together for a reason. And now let's sit down and give our relationship the time that it deserves. Respecting each other and being open to the lens that they see the world and having those conversations.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for the advice and the encouragement to all of us out there who are normal, everyday people who experience conflict in our work, in our marriage, in our parenting, and helping us see what's possible through living the strengths perspective and thinking, seeking to understand instead of being understood as our first goal. So
yes.
Thanks for being here today, Murray. This was a pleasure for me, and look forward to the next time.
See you soon, Becky. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Isn't Murray's story so real to life? You can find out more about Murray Guest at inspiremybusiness.com and on Instagram at Murray Guest. You can also get these links over in the show notes at isogostrong.com/IsogoTV. Ultimately, my dream would be to see thriving marriages, families, and workplaces across the entire world. By orienting our minds towards our strengths, I know that we can get there, just like Murray is doing at home and at work. So I'd love to ask you to share Isogo TV, the video or the audio version, with your circles on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or right there in your house with your own spouse or in your office. And if you like Isogo TV or this interview with Murray in particular, please leave a 5-star review over on iTunes, because it not only means a lot to me, but it helps others find this podcast resource too. I'm glad that you were here today to hear how others have fueled significant changes in their lives by focusing in on their strengths. And I hope that you join me for more next time on Isogo TV.